on today's episode of MotoCheez.
Are you ready, kids?
The following movie is rated
I.
So I got the throttle and shift linkage connected up. Got the trim all wired up. Did heat shrink and solder here. I think we're about ready to maybe see if it'll run. Getting ready for the first start since she was put away. Except now all the cables are hooked up. I still gotta neaten this up.
Little smoky probably because it's got some old stuff in the carbs and everything. Sorry, Nick. He's pumping. Oh, that noise scared the shit out of me. Little rich.
My poor kids are trying to work on a Jeep as I'm doing this, and I'm soaking them. Fun times. Go ahead. That's locked. That's unlocked. You good? So while I was running the boat, you see I was soaking my son. We changed the universal joint and a bearing on that side because the universal joint was bad. $220,000 on that Jeep. Never had anything done like that before in the front. I think the only major issue I had was the oil cooler at like 190. Anyway, these are for the axle, and there's two of them on each axle. I've done so many bearings and U-joints, I've never seen these. They call them a guide, an axle guide. When we pull the axle out, these stayed in the tube. When we put the axle in, it pushed it like that, and then the axle went over it. So one side was leaking, of course, and it did kind of tear this up a little bit. I don't really see the need for this unless you don't want the spline to get dirt on it while you're putting it in. Because when I put the axle in, this has a taper. And so does the end of the axle, so when that comes in and it hits that, you can feel that little bit, and then I rotate it as I push it in. And I've never had a problem putting them axles in. So this must only be to keep the dirt out. Anybody that knows, let me know. Cover the boat, he says. I didn't make my frame yet. I had it pulled tight. Mr. Rain makes pockets. For the summer, I guess I can use the frame for that. I'll have to tie it together because there is nothing there. Just to keep the arms from flopping. I'll try that. Look how nice and dry it is, though. Boat. Break out another 1,000. I did pick up a battery container and a battery. And I think what I'm going to do with that battery is put it in here for the summer, put it in the CJ for the winter, or when I'm not using it here. Got a few kinks in it. Rope it. I'm gonna have to order some straps. I'm buying all the materials that you guys recommended to clean that off. We'll see what works best on the mold. Most people ended up choosing bleach and water. Some are borax. I've never had any luck once it does that staining, but I'm going to try them all and see which one works. That was for my live well. If I was going to put a live well, I'd probably put it over here, out of the way, not in the middle. So I guess I'll have to plug those. Oh look, a wasp. Get. Nobody wants you. I'll use these for front for now. 2 in there. Getting her done. I think that'll work. See, at least this way they sell the actual canopies that will fit on these, and I can actually measure what I'm going to need. Probably I'm going to have to pull it a little closer. These usually end up kind of like that, somewhat evenly spaced here. That's about right, I think. We'll go with it for now. I think that'll blow away. I'm working on it. Shouldn't, right? It'll keep me out of the sun. I guess I'll go pick up some supplies. Try to get this cleaned up. And that. Hey, my upholstery held up. Hopefully it stays on there. I found a few of the items that you guys recommended. I can't find some of the other stuff. No one carries it around here. Of course, some bleach mixtures, which I could do. Got some stainless steel hardware off of Amazon. Supposed to be good grade. That's 304 stainless, and that's 304 stainless. I'll put the links for that. Well, let's see if she idles now any better. Timing's got to be off. I didn't want to mess with it before because I assumed no one touched it, but you know what they say about assumptions. Center to center is supposed to be 2 1/16. Right now it's like 2 1/4. That looks like about 2 1/16 right there. Maybe a little more. I wonder if this cam thing is worn out too. Oh, that's a lot better. Still a little bit off though. Could be why it's not idling correctly. No thermostat. It's not warming up. Maybe. I figure I better show how all these linkages are supposed to be adjusted. They were off and I already started to adjust it and I shouldn't have, but you have to make sure this cam is right in between them 2 dots. This is supposed to be the distance center to center about 2 1/16. Right now it's a little bit more because this is the advance arm. So you're supposed to loosen this and putting very slight pressure. Then you tighten this one up. Then you make sure they're both open at the same time. Before they weren't. That's to synchronize the 2 carbs. Then this was too far forward on your lower carburetor. Then you loosen this screw exactly at that mark it should be at this point, or else this has to be adjusted. So this isn't supposed to actually touch. There's supposed to be a 10,000th gap there. Adjust this if it's off. This is the idle. That's how far I had to move it. I should have started the video earlier. This looks a little worn, but I don't know if that's too small or not. There's quite a gap there. Anyway, that goes there. Now to adjust the timing on this, you have to have a special prop. That's for the 5,000 RPM timing. I don't have it, but you have to have a special prop. You got to put it in forward, rev it up to 5,000 RPMs, and get it, I forget what it is, like 20 before top dead center. But you can do the idle. Idle is somewhere near top dead center while it's idling. I'm going to check that later. Full speed throttle stop. You're supposed to do this with everything disconnected, by the way. At full speed, these on both carburetors, which they're linked together so it would be, have to be straight up and down. As you can see on mine, wide open throttle, it's past position. I have to adjust this to get them bars straight up and down. So now that's wide open throttle like that. That stop is stopping it from going any further forward. And as you can see, those bars are straight up and down. These flaps are totally flat. This is just a general. I mean, check with your manual for sure. Pretty close. Check the reeds, or the carburetors are still off. So yeah, I finally found a good picture of that roller. And guess what? That thing is like way worn out. Look at that. There's not supposed to be nearly that much play. Matter of fact, the roller's a little bigger than that washer. But they want like $35 for that piece of plastic. Nope, I'm gonna make one. That stupid fly. Hey, Mr. Fly. I literally have this and one good junk drawer. I found something that I was like, whoa, look at that, it's gonna work. But no, the ID and the OD was too big. Looks like the one you buy is plastic coated in nylon now. Look at that thing, how worn out it is. It's half its size almost. I do have a little baby lathe. If I have material, I can make it. But that thing's kind of a piece of junk. What I came up with was, this is the worn down piece. I got a piece of vacuum line that I slipped over it. And look at that. I mean, that's like pretty perfect. I'll just keep her greased up. Save $35. Cheese Goldberg. Washer. And I don't know what the heck kind of O-ring this is, but pretty pliable still. Amazingly. come over to pump this. It was hard, and I don't know how it just popped off somehow. I don't know how that happened. There, now it's hard.
That's what she said?
It's always something with these boats. I must have knocked that off. I don't know when. I gotta pull a carburetor. Something's not right. I bought this cheap set from Walmart just to keep it on here. Gotta have a tool set on a boat. Am I right? Gotta get good with your fingers to be a mechanic. That's why no one ever questions why mechanics make better lovers. Wow, I can't believe it came off. There's one. Oh. And there is two. Shafts don't seem worn. Not much fuel come out of this one. The upper carburetor. Maybe it is something with the carburation. Hose on here. I'm going to inspect the reed valves. Let's do the carburetors first. I really wish fuel injection systems were cheaper. This would be awesome. We'll switch over to an EFI. You would think by now they'd be fairly inexpensive. I'm sure these have been apart before. Pretty clean. Float level's a little high. I have to look up. I mean, typically these are the same as a motorcycle where they're supposed to be perfectly flat, but there is a measurement. Welcome to the sound of my people. Remarkably clean. This seems high, way high. Bend this tab just a little bit, not that much. You support this because you don't push against the seat. This doesn't have a spring-loaded seat, so you can turn this upside down. Where the motorcycle ones, it has a spring-loaded seat, so you basically have to do that with it. That gasket's good. These look very clean. Let me look what the float level's supposed to be. I'm gonna look online just to be sure. Blow through it with some carburetor cleaner. I'm out at 2.5, seems to be the best. So I started at 2.5 turns out on these, and that seemed to be about the right starting point. It's when it ran the best, actually. So let's see. That comes out of there. Now we'll see where that passageway leads. Leads out of the top. So this is a fuel line also. Let's see what the proper float measurement's supposed to be too. It's still pliable, it looks good. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. I don't see anything in here being an issue, except maybe the float levels. I don't know about that. Let me look it up. This says have it level. Measurement number should be 1 1/8 to 1.5 inches. This is of course with the carb in the upright position. Inch and an eighth, inch and a half. That's huge. That's a big gap. So level it is. There is a jet there. Suppose I'll look at that. That's huge. And it's open. So this is the main jet. Looks like a 47 470. Wow. 470. That one's pretty wide open too. Everything is remarkably clean. Well guys, what else do you think it is? So both the floats were a tad bit high. Could it be the compression? But the compression was pretty good when I tested it. I believe the lower cylinder was on the low side. I don't know. That one seems a little restricted here. Should have left the other one apart. Maybe someone had it apart before and bent that. All I know is very restricted before. Now let's see. Something's holding that. Something's wrong with that carburetor. Try this without the gasket and see if it touches. I mean, look. Something's... have to compare. And that's why hardly any fuel come out of that carburetor. It is in upside down. Someone put the float in upside down. Someone put the float in upside down. It wasn't me, guys. That's why this would open all the way up too. You ever notice when you're working on something that if somebody had their hands in it, it's a bigger problem? I find that a lot. So that's it. You can see the notch. It has to have that notch to get past that hump. Silly. Silly, silly me. Alright, so I did find an issue, so maybe feel some sort of hope now. See how just knowing the basics of mechanics and carburation, you can troubleshoot pretty much any engine with a carburetor or without a carburetor. Sometimes it's the most basic, easiest thing, like that 10 horsepower motor being a fuel pump. This is the good one that worked before. Good flow. Stopped. That was the lower one that had plenty of fuel in it. This is the bad. This is the one that was giving me an issue. Oh wow, I can hear the float now. Plenty of flow. And it stopped. Well boys, we may have solved the problem. Oh yeah, my straps came in with a top, so I can put my strap on. Now let's see if we can get these carburetors on. This is lower because it's got a roller. Oh, thanks for reminding me. We got to check those reeds. So the upper ones look fine, but the lower one, do you see that? There's a screw in there, guys. Oh my god. Good thing there's reeds. It stopped it from going in. Holy cow, I gotta pull that out. That's crazy. So, Odie Rides sent me several of these. Nope, stainless. Gotta get some needle nose. Imagine if that got sucked in there. Look at that. That holds the cover on for the air box, which is in here still. Now be honest, did any of you guys see that that float had the notch and it was upside down when I first took it apart? If you did, very good observation. I don't hear that one. Maybe that reed is screwed up after all. It should sound like this. It should have that suction. Some are longer than others, I'll figure that out. You can even see the roller bearings in there. Everything else looks good, so. So the upper reeds look good. You're supposed to have, if any, very, very little gap there. I forget what it is, but it's like thousandths. The upper reeds are fine, but the lower reeds definitely have too much gap. That's too much. So I'm going to take it apart, see if I could do anything about that. There might be a little dirt stuck underneath there. See that? That's the maximum you're really supposed to have. It's very, very little. Thing should run mint when I'm done, I hope. I don't see any dirt I was hoping for. I could flip it over. You can see. I'll flip it over. Ever so slightly, these are angled, so you can't force them in straight. These reeds make it so that when it sucks in fuel, kind of like an intake valve, it doesn't let it puff back through the carburetor. Wow. Perfect. Wonder if I should use a very, very, very light coat of grease, because some of it stayed on the other one. And you don't want to remove everything, because the gasket actually looks pretty good. Didn't rip anywhere. That ought to do her. And then if I ever have to take it apart, it disassembles again easy. That's what I think. There goes nothing. That's a longer one. That's a longer one. You can tell by how much is supposed to stick out when you put it in the hole. Well, that's the first time I've ever seen that working on a two-stroke. And I've probably had, I would almost say, hundreds of motors apart. Over 100 for sure. Like I said, learn mechanics and the basics. You can figure out what the problem is troubleshooting. The more you take apart, the more you learn, the better you get. That's it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 bolts. Do a little crisscross. My hand torque wrench. It's another thing. As you work on stuff, you get the feel of what torque should be what. I'm all crisscross, lightly torqued, and then do my final hand torquing. That's it. I got them all. My little bit of grease coming out. Should be good. I hope. If this was a 4-cycle engine and that little bolt dropped in there like that, it would have been done. So what do you think, guys? Found a few things that would have definitely caused it to run erratic. Think we fixed it? I'm pretty confident. Feeling pretty confident. Tiny, tiny little vacuum ports, huh? Make sure that rod is free. You definitely have to resync these carbs. Here goes nothing. Oops. Oh yeah, I forgot. Gotta do that. Knew I forgot something. That's a hell of a fuel pump. My God. That's it. She's hard.
That's what she said.
Man, I hope it works. Pretty close. Idle screws way in to keep it idle, so something's still not perfect. Look. Pretty damn close. That's as close as I'm gonna get it, boys. I'm gonna have to do a water trip. Haha. I gotta start putting this stuff back together.
Hey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Hit that bell if you want new notifications on new videos. Links for products to use are in the description and on MotoCheez.com. Thanks for watching.